I'm Joey.T.Cartoon.P and you're watching a Cartoon-Palooza editorial. For today's editorial, I want to focus on a question that's been on my mind for a while. Why are the Minions from Despicable Me so damn popular? I ask this in all sincerity because, let's face it, they're freaking everywhere. Everywhere! They have their own attraction at Universal, a slew of fan art that I don't feel the urge to share a lot of, and even managed to become essential to the plot of the second movie. But why? We have a great setup of a world without superheroes, but one with supervillains. Why wasn't that given much importance? Hell, why are they getting their own spin-off movie as a matter of fact? So let me rephrase that question. Why are they so damn popular? I got a couple theories as to why. One, they're humorous, or at least for those who like these characters. This is why I mentioned this one first, because I think it's the least important. Sure, I could see where their appeal comes from, but let's face it, their humor revolves around one joke. They're bumbling and naive. That's it. In fact, they weren't even the ones I found that funny in Despicable Me 1. Not to sound like a hipster, but frankly, I found Dr. Nefario to be funnier, and even more of an engaging character. Here you got a guy who's so dedicated to his cause and helping out his friends, and yet because he's an old fazul who can't seem to get any of his inventions right, he ends up messing up. Or when he does get it right, it ends up making no sense.
Quick! We have to warn him! And fast!
Add on the fact that his voice is done by the relatively young Russell Brand, which I feel did a really good job playing a character, rather than sticking around to sell a movie on name recognition alone. But no, bananas and speaking in gibberish is what people found hilarious. There's only so many times you hear the same joke without any changes and you go, that's not funny anymore. That's how I feel about these characters. Sure, there are many funny characters like Wile E. Coyote and the Three Stooges, whose shtick revolves around one joke. I think because they're somewhat relatable, it's why they stay timeless. We all rush to conclusions that backfire hilariously the same way Curly makes a short-sighted mistake, or how that coyote pulls too much faith into a corporation that doesn't give you a 100% guarantee. With the Minions, that's just not there. Or if they are doing slapstick, it's tired routines that have been done before. This brings me to number 2, they caught us by surprise. I think when the first few trailers to the movie featured these characters in some ways didn't resemble the look of the world, it created some funny contrast. It only makes it more interesting that 2 movies in, they never really explain why or where they came from. Are they aliens, mutants, the next breed of human species? We don't know. All we know is that they were in the background doing their own thing. But that's just enough to catch our attention enough to want more. This is why it comes to no surprise that the characters who were in the background when they first appeared tend to become the fan favorites, sometimes long enough to take a life of their own. For example, when you think of the Pink Panther, the first thing that comes to your mind is that Mancini theme and the characters Inspector Clouseau and the Pink Panther cartoon character. Seems kosher, right? You got all the sequels, the Steve Martin remake, the cartoons, and even your own installation has the image of the Pink Panther on it. So it only makes sense that the original movie would revolve around them. Well, if you look at it, you'll find out that the movie revolves around the diamond theft and some corny love story connected to Robert Wagner or some crap like that. Basically, all the things we associate to the Pink Panther isn't what the movie was originally intended for. You find out that the cartoon was just part of the opening credits and Clouseau was simply a patsy they pinned the theft on. So what was it that made them more popular than a young number 2 from Austin Powers? Well, they may have been small, but they left a good impression. The animation and the music of the opening credits is excellent, and you can't go wrong with one of the best character actors for his time. Think about Stifler from American Pie, Timon and Pumbaa from The Lion King, and even Rebel Wilson from Pitch Perfect.
Well, there it is.
The movie never revolves around them, but yet they left a big enough impression to come back. But I think there's a big reason that plays a role into their success, and that's how marketable they are. Number 3, they are easily recognizable for being a marketing brand. You know what makes a good logo or mascot? Something appealing to the eye and easy to replicate. Take 3 circles and you're thinking about the club that's made for you and me. If you guys remember watching my Invader Zim review, you might remember me mentioning that the robot Gurr was so damn popular. even though most of its humor revolved around shouting non sequiturs and looking cute. and over 10 years after it was canned, it still sells like hotcakes. But the key thing was that it was easy to recognize. Even if you haven't seen the show, you gotta admit the design isn't complicated. Even a person who can't draw can get this thing right. Not to put that person on the spot, but let's be honest. Or,
Let's be honest.
gotta love that character. Same thing goes for the Minions. A simpler design of theirs makes them look more like mascots ready to sell a t-shirt or a toy. As manipulative as all this sounds, it's not unheard of. When Felix the Cat became an overnight success, Pat Sullivan decided to capitalize by selling the character on virtually everything. Because the character was easy to draw, it wasn't hard to replicate. This is something that would lead the way to the marketing tactic by Walt Disney, Walter Lantz, and of course the team behind Despicable Me. Even the design is easy to copy, the Minions also have another thing to add to their commercial success, and that's the voice. Even if we don't know a song's lyric beat by beat, we can easily have a song stuck in our heads just by listening to 3 chords or words. Because the Minions have a voice that's essentially the voice we speak to babies and puppies in, it's easy to do and suddenly make us think, I'm talking to my 2-year-old like a Minion. And one you could see and easily design or think about the voice and you associate it to these farts. Altogether, the humor, the surprise, and the simple design is what contributes to their success. Is it possible that it's not going to last for long? Probably. Hollywood has always been under the impression that if something sells the first time, then by God we'll shove it down your throats until it's dry of any success. But what about something like Alvin and the Chipmunks? Here's a gimmick from the 60s that spawned a huge following involving animation and movies galore. So who knows? It might go one way or another. So until that day comes where they're beaten like a dead horse, or just not beaten enough to my dismay, I want to open the floor to comments, discussions, and suggestions. Let me know what you think on the matter. Now I'm Joey.T.Cartoon.P, and thanks for watching this editorial on the Cartoon Palooza.
Mocha.